If you've been wiring up Azure OpenAI endpoints by hand, juggling API keys, prompt files, and a spreadsheet of eval results, Azure AI Foundry is the platform that pulls all of that into one place. In the next few minutes, I'll give you the mental model, show you what the hub and project structure actually is, how model deployment works under the hood, how the built-in evaluation loop functions, and the gotchas that bite teams once they ship to production. This is a deep dive on the mechanism, not a feature tour. The core mental model is two levels. A hub is the top-level Azure resource that holds shared infrastructure, connections to Azure OpenAI and other model providers, storage, key vault, and compute. Underneath a hub, you create projects, and each project is an isolated workspace for one application or team. Connections, role assignments, and content filters can be set at the hub and inherited or overridden per project. Think of the hub as the security and governance boundary, and the project as where your app's prompts, agents, deployments, and eval runs actually live. Foundry's catalog has thousands of models, but how you deploy them differs in ways that hit your bill and latency. Azure OpenAI and other flagship models use serverless or standard deployments built per token, where you pick a region and a tokens per minute quota. Open-weight models from the catalog can be deployed as serverless PIs or to managed compute, which spins up dedicated GPU virtual machines that you pay for by the hour whether or not they're busy. For steady high throughput, provision throughput units, PTUs, reserve capacity for predictable latency. Choose deliberately, managed compute idle time is real money. On top of a deployment, you build the actual application. The agent service lets you define an agent with instructions, a model and tools, code interpreter, function calling, and crucially knowledge grounding through Azure AI Search for retrieval augmented generation. Prompt flow is the orchestration layer where you chain prompts, Python nodes, and retrieval into a directed graph you can version and test. The key practical point, keep grounding data in a managed index and treat your prompt flow as code, checked into source control, not as something you only edit in the portal. This is where Foundry earns its keep. Instead of eyeballing outputs, you run evaluations against a dataset of test inputs. Built-in evaluators score groundedness, relevance, coherence, and fluency, plus safety metrics like hate, violence, and self-harm content. Many of these are AI-assisted, meaning a judge model grades the output, so they cost tokens and aren't perfectly deterministic. You can also write custom code-based evaluators. The workflow is build a representative eval set, run it on every prompt or model change, and compare runs side by side before you promote anything. To ship, you put a deployed flow or agent behind an endpoint and wire content safety in front of it. Azure AI Kai Content Safety applies configurable filters for prompts and completions, with severity thresholds you tune per category, plus prompt shield protection against jailbreaks and indirect injection from your grounding data. Turn on tracing so every request logs its inputs, retrieve chunks, token counts, and latency to application insights. Treat the whole project as infrastructure as code with Bicep or Terraform, and promote through dev, test, and production hubs rather than clicking in the portal. A few things by teams. First, quota is regional and per model. Your tokens per minute limit can throttle you well before you expect, so request increases early and design retries with backoff. Second, managed compute does not scale to zero, so a forgotten test deployment quietly burns GPU hours. Third, AI-assisted evaluators consume tokens and can drift as judge models update, so pin versions where you can. Fourth, role-based access at the hub versus project level is easy to misconfigure, leaking connections across teams. And content filters default on, which sometimes blocks legitimate output until you tune thresholds. So the model is simple. A hub holds shared governance and connections. Projects hold your apps. You deploy models with a billing mode that matches your traffic, build with agents and prompt flow, evaluate every change against a dataset, and ship behind content safety with full tracing. The one concrete takeaway, before you write any application code, stand up an eval dataset and a baseline run. That eval harness is what lets you change prompts and models with confidence instead of guessing. Pricing and model availability shift constantly, so check the current Azure docs for quota limits and evaluator details before you commit. If this helped, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next video.